welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Catherine and this is my place where I talk to you about all things knitting and crafty. So in today's video I thought it would be nice if we had a little look at some of the books on my bookshelf. It might be a couple of videos because believe me, there are quite a lot of books that I have accumulated. I started knitting in about 2003. Was when I picked up my needles seriously, so we're talking about 20 years now, and I've accumulated some books over this time. So yeah, it's not going to be one video, I don't think. So let's have a little look at what we've got. So the first book is Knitting Rules by Stephanie Pearl McPhee. I love this book. I've mentioned it on the podcast before because it is really funny. It's got little snippets of all different things that you can do, but also she gives you lots of information so you can knit things, hats, socks, shawls without a pattern. So it really is a great book and I've found it very useful. I can make a pair of socks now without a pattern, and it's probably thanks to this book that it taught me. Unraveling the mysteries and swatching, stashing, ribbing and rolling to free your inner knitter. So thoroughly recommend that one. The next book I want to share with you is The Knitter's Book of Finishing Techniques. This is by Nancy M. Wiseman. This is not somebody I've ever heard of before. I picked up this book because I was interested at the time in making sure my garments turned out as well and as professional as can be. So there's lots of expert techniques in here that cover everything from seaming to blocking, decorative finishes, and it's got lots of photographs. It's also got illustrations, and it's just a really useful book. So for example, if you wanted to learn how to pick up folded or hem neckbands, zippers, joining new ends of yarn when knitting, shoulder seams, grafting, Kitchener stitch, bind offs, everything, you name it, it's in this little book. So yeah, really useful. I should actually probably refer to this more, but it's a very useful book. Hi baby. So this book has never been knit from. I think I saw one of the jumpers and really fancied it, so I bought it. It's called Boyfriend Sweaters, 19 designs for him that you'll want to wear. I think also I was thinking about knitting my dad a jumper. So this was the pattern that I bought it for, which is the honeycomb sweater, which I absolutely love. So my dad was going to get a sweater and I never got around to it. So basically it's a boyfriend sweater, so a male garment, but obviously it appeals to men and women. So you've got the women's sizes and the man's sizes. So it's a really lovely jumper. That's definitely why I bought it. I'm not sure who Bruce Weinstein is. I'm having a look, knitwear designer. It's not somebody I've ever heard of, but I must have seen that honeycomb sweater online and wanted to sort of buy it. I think even for the one sweater, it's really worthwhile. So yeah, maybe I should add that to my list because I really love it. So Boyfriend Sweaters, 19 designs for him that you'll want to wear, plus techniques that help you knit almost anything. So Boyfriend Sweaters. Now the next book is definitely the first book that I bought when I got back into knitting. So this is the Encyclopedia of Knitting, Step-by-Step Techniques, Stitches and Inspirational Designs by Leslie Stanfield and Melody Griffiths. Now I know they have published an awful lot of knitting and crochet books between them, and this book has been poured over. It's got a stitch collection, it's got basically anything that you need to know about knitting. It's maybe a bit old-fashioned now because this book must be 20 years old. What year was it published? 2000. So yeah, maybe some of the little things look a little bit dated in it, but it's an absolute reference book. So I thoroughly recommend this book. I have absolutely read over it over and over and over again, really just for inspiration and also for ideas and how to do things. So that is the Encyclopedia of Knitting. I fancied learning how to make toe-up socks at one point, so I grabbed myself this book, Toe Up 2 at a Time Socks, and you know, 2 at a time. I read the book, I love the patterns, and I really have always intended to have a go at toe up, but I just like knitting from the top down. But again, 2 at a time, it's just too much for me. I don't know, some people swear by it, but so I have this book. Maybe I should use it, but I don't think I'm ever gonna knit 2 at a time. I have knit 2 at a time in the past, where I knit the rib on the second sock, knit the leg, knit the heel flap, and that works really nicely for me. But this is a 2 in the time technique with a toe up twist. So unfortunately it's not a book that I've ever used, so I can't really tell you how well it works. There are some nice designs in here though. Let me know in the comments if you've made 2 at a time. There we are. Next up is Fab Feet and Cozy Toes. Over 25 designs for knitted socks by Anna Tillman. Again, this is a pattern book that I've looked at all the lovely sock patterns and thought, yeah, I'll make that, and I've never got round to anything in this pattern book at all. I mean, look at those. I mean, when would I ever wear them? They're absolutely gorgeous, but you know. You've got your mix and match socks. These are very cute. A pair of little trainer socks with the little pom-poms on the heel. I'm not sure if these are knitted on 2 needles or knitted on the round. I have a feeling maybe they're mainly knitted on 2 needles, which is possibly why I haven't knitted from this. Nope, double pointed needles. I don't know why I thought they were knit flat. Oh, these ones are knit flat, very cute. I think I once did knit a pair of flat socks when I first started. So again, this is quite an old book. It is quite nice. I think the lesson is that perhaps I should try some of these things from some of these books. So my next book is 200 Knitted Blocks for Blankets, Throws and Afghans. This is by Jan Eaton. And this is really as well a lovely inspiration if you ever wanted to make blanket squares. Again, I've done the granny squares. It's never really appealed to me doing the knitted squares. Maybe it's something I should look at. There are some really lovely patterns. But again, you could just use this book as inspiration for, you know, like a stitch dictionary. Because there's some fantastic blocks in here. So yes, it's definitely something that maybe I should look at more for inspiration. I tend to make granny squares, not knitted square blankets. But yeah, if you're ever looking for knitted blocks, it's a really good book. This is another Easy Knitted Sock book. It says Easy Knitted Socks, Fun and Fashionable Designs for the Novice Knitter. I don't think there's anything wrong with novice books when you're a more experienced knitter as well. You know, sometimes you want a little simple knit. Again, I think I've referred to this. It's got a pattern for basic tubular socks, which is quite nice. And they are knitted on double pointed. So again, I think I've used it as a reference book, but I've never actually made anything. Obviously, I think I bought this at the time. There's quite a lot of baby socks and things. It's got some lovely information about constructing the socks. But again, this is a book that I haven't ever knitted anything from. So that's Easy Knitted Socks. Knitted Rabbits. So this is a pattern book for 20 easy knitted patterns for cuddly bunnies. I bought this because I really liked the stripy bunny. I think I saw him in a magazine and I thought, I've got to have this bunny book. I'd knitted a few soft toys. There he is, the little bunny. He's very cute. I'd knitted a few soft toys and I just picked this book up because I thought, oh wow, it's got lots of little different bunnies. But again, it's not something that I've ever really used. There's a bit of a theme here, isn't there? So we've got all these cute little bunny rabbits. Yeah. Egg cozies if you're looking for an egg cozy. I like this one's very cute. So that is Knitted Bunnies. The next book I want to share with you is the Knitter's Handbook. So this is a guide to knit yarns, needles, stitches and techniques. I've obviously marked a page here. What have I marked the page for? Buying yarn. I'm not sure why I would have marked that page. It's got the different types of yarn. And I really like this book. It's got some lovely like clear stitch patterns. And it's got really lovely illustrations and guides as well. So I think a lot of these books I bought before you would necessarily have access to looking at a video on YouTube. I also find that I like to learn from a book. I'm quite old school. I do enjoy watching a video, but having a reference book is always a great thing for me. But yeah, it's a superb book. I definitely like this. I'm not sure who it's by. It just says by Hamlin. So I don't know if there's a particular author. This was published in 2006. So as I said, some of these books are getting quite old now. So in the UK, we have a shop called The Works, and it's a bit of a treasure trove. I'm sure I've mentioned it before, but they have some really good craft books. And this is a DK book that I picked up, who always have very clear books. So this is a little course in knitting, and it's a beginner's book, but as I say, there's nothing wrong with picking up beginner books. This was published in 2017, so it's a more modern book. And again, it's got all your very simple clear instructions for a total beginner, and then you've got your really beginner projects like a knitted bag. I think I knitted something like that when I was about 7, you know, when I first knitted. I had the Ladybird guide to knitting, so there was like a little tie and things like that. I remember knitting some of the things from there. We've got like your knitted tablet cover. Again, they're things that I wouldn't necessarily make, but you know, I think, oh, how to make tassels. It's always somewhere where you can look up. So it's perfect for a beginner, you know, like a little cushion. And then, but what I like is the stitch pattern. So it's got clear guides. And then you do get some more complicated patterns. There is actually a sweater in there. I don't know how much I like that sweater, but there's a basic sweater. So yeah, it's quite a good book. You've got your monkey toy, and if you were going to make the monkey, if you're making a soft toy for the first time, it's got like really detailed instructions of how you join it all together. So this is a really good book if you were going to buy a beginner knitter a book. I think this is quite nice for them. Next up, again, a very similar book by DK. This is from The Works. I think it says I paid £4.99 for that one as well. And it's called Knit Step by Step, More Than 200 Techniques and Stitch Patterns with 10 Easy Projects. So again, it's a very, very similar book with all your guides, clear photos, absolutely lovely book. Gives you lots of instructions. There's things that you would never even think of doing, cutting into your knitting, fastenings. Then you've got embroidery. So I think any of these things are just great for flicking through and getting inspiration. You've got some stitch directories at the back as well, and I believe it said there were some projects in here as well. Yeah, let's have a look. What projects do we have? So this book, you've got some easy arm warmers. There's a simple blanket. That would be a perfect project for a beginner, as long as I didn't get too bored. That's the thing. Men's gloves. You've got your simple ankle socks, and they are knitted. Yeah, they're knitted in the round as well. That's all your projects in there. I swear that is the same jumper. I'm not sure. Was there a jumper in the previous one? I got quite interested in learning how to do Fair Isle. I think I haven't really progressed yet, but I picked up this book off Amazon. It's called The Very Easy Guide to Fair Isle. It's got step-by-step techniques, easy to follow stitch patterns and projects to get you started. And this is a really detailed book. I think I was actually sort of reading it, and this is where I got to here where my bookmark is. So lessons teaching you how to deal with charts. So I think if you're wanting to do different stitches, it's got your stitch guide. I should have read this when I was doing my mindful blanket, because look, that's that seed stitch that was on the mindful blanket. And it sort of tells you more. It's got the chart, it's got the written instructions, it's got telling you how to strand the yarns, variations. And as you progress through the book, the patterns get more and more complicated. I think this will be really useful for me if I'm going to read, if I'm going to do some of those stranded colourwork socks I was talking about last time. And then you've got some colourwork projects as well in the book. Let's have a look for a couple of the projects. Oh, those very funky leg warmers. I think there's 10 projects. Fingerless gloves, I really like those. So that is the easy guide to Fair Isle knitting. Lots for me to learn in that book. So the next book is called How to Use, Adapt and Design Knitting Patterns. Now I picked this up and I thought it would be more about how to actually design patterns, but really it's not. It's about adapting a written pattern. It's about fitting. It makes it sound like it's how you design your own patterns, which I was quite interested at the time, but it's more how to adapt your written pattern. I picked this up in the works as well. I don't know how much it was, but it gives you the information about how to change the shaping. It's a little bit like a dressmaking book, I suppose. Honestly, in all honesty, it's a little bit too technical for me at this moment. I don't know how to, you know, making a paper pattern and translating it onto a paper pattern. I don't know if designers work that way with knitting. I would feel that they would knit it. I don't know. Garment design is beyond me really, but it is quite an interesting book. I have had a bit of a flick through, but it wasn't quite what I thought it would be. But yeah, it's adapting written patterns really. So I'm not raving about this book. I don't know, to me it seems a bit more like a dressmaking book, but with knitting. So I don't really know. I don't know. But it is a book that's out there. And the last book I've picked up today is the Sock Knitters Workshop. So this is a really great resource book. This is by Ewa Josti and Stephanie van der Linden. Apparently they've written other knitting books, but they're expert sock knitters, and this is really, really lovely. I have referred to this. It's got loads of information about different heel types and different, you know, different toe shapings. It's really, really thorough. You know, different heel flaps. So if you're interested in advancing your sock knitting, this is quite a useful book that you could have. And there are some really lovely patterns in the back as well. So really one of the things I should do is start to maybe use some of these books. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's little look through some of the books on my bookshelf. I'm going to be making another video for part 2 because we only got through half of them, I would say. So all that remains for me to say is thank you for watching, and if you've liked this video, please remember to like and subscribe. It helps my channel grow. Leave me a little message in the comments below if you've got any of these books or you want to know anything about them, and I'll be back and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks. Bye.